So, Season 27 just launched and it shifted the entire Apex Legends meta. Today I'll rank all the legends from worst to best, giving you guys sort of an idea of who to play and who to avoid. Let's dive in. Now starting off with E tier, these legends are completely forgotten by the game. They're at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to abilities and need to be seriously reworked. Our first legend here is Octane. Now this is the legend that takes self-damage for speed. There's literally legends like Ashe, Sparrow, and literally every other movement legend that 1. Go faster and further, and 2. Don't take any self-damage. Octane's tactical is quite literally one of the worst tacticals in the entire game. It feels very outdated and actually puts you at a huge disadvantage because stimming into a fight even once or twice usually means death for you. His ultimate jump pad is also pretty inefficient because most enemies can usually shoot you while you take it. Compare this to something like Ashe's one-directional portal or even Valkyrie's upgraded skyward dive. Truly, Octane needs some serious work because it still feels like a Season 0 legend while everyone has already surpassed them. The next legend is Bloodhound. Yep, the weakest scanner that suffers from the same issue that Octane faces, a lack of decent changes since the beginning of the game. Sure, Bloodhound is probably one of the easiest characters to learn, but his abilities don't even compare to stronger recon legends like Vantage Sparrow or the newly buffed Seer. Not to mention, those 3 legends I just mentioned also have some pretty decent movement, but Bloodhound is still running around with a slightly faster speed boost during his ult. All in all, Bloodhound will need some real love from the devs to bring him up to higher tiers. Moving on to D tier, now these legends are still the same as F tier, but at least they've gotten reworked once or twice. But in general, they're still pretty weak. Now starting off with our first legend, we have Catalyst. For a while, Catalyst was actually the meta in ranked, and even comp due to her ult in rotations and during endgames. But after that, she got nerfed to the ground, and it kind of brought out the new controller legends like Hostic and Rampart. Catalyst can still work if used correctly. I mean, she is technically the only legend right now that can completely rebuild broken doors and fortify them. But with a more aggressive meta these past few seasons, she seriously lacks the offensive and defensive role that legends like Hostic can perform. And also, most of the time, enemies who end up walking through a Catalyst ult can still see and shoot enemies, rendering it kind of weaker than other ultimates in the game. Catalyst could use a few buffs to her spikes and walls to make her viable again. Our next legend is Wattson. Now, she isn't a bad legend per se, she's just a very difficult one to master. In fact, I think she's one of the best controller legends in the right hands. However, for the average player, Wattson's skill ceiling is just way too high to perform well, especially when legends like Rampart and Caustic exist, the more plug and play and perform pretty well kind of legends. Defenses are very niche and Ultimate feels a lot weaker now due to the integration of the amps like the Unlimited Battery and Overflow Healer amp, which also got nerfed but still feels stronger than Wattson's ult. Overall, I don't think Wattson is a bad legend, she's not suitable for the majority of the player base. She could get pushed up the tier list easily if she gets buffs that make her easier to play compared to other controller legends. Moving on to our next legend, we have Crypto. Now he's a pretty rough character and suffers from the same issues as Bloodhound, overshadowed by movement recon legends like Sparrow, Vantage, and Valk. What makes it even more tough is his skill ceiling is similar to Wattson. You have to really play him to a niche to perform well. Not to mention, every time you use Crypto's drone, you're not able to physically help your team fight since you're busy scanning. Compare this to Seer, who can fight, move, and help his team actively. Now his EMP also breaks his own shields, which completely weakens its overall strength. Now what could bring him up the tier list is by allowing the drone to follow him, removing self-EMP damage, and also increasing EMP damage to enemies. Now our last D tier legend is Conduit. She is probably the weakest support legend by a long shot. Her passive ability gives her a speed boost when allies are out of range. Well, with almost 80% of players running Skirmisher Legend, this ability feels outdated since teammates get a speed boost towards Skirmisher Legends anyway. Her tactical also feels way too slow and automatically stops when she takes damage, so it's more so useful for teammates or for safer resets than mid-fight overshield like Revenant. Her ultimate is what really makes her shine, since it's one of the largest area denial tools like Bangalore and Gibby's ult, but hers lasts way longer. But if we compare Conduit to other support legends like Newcastle and Lifeline, Conduit feels like a budget healer unable to truly support her team when they need it the most. Now we're moving on to C tier. Now these legends are a little bit more viable and have a lot more flexibility. They're still not as good as meta legends, but they can get the job done if needed. Now the first legend is Fuse. He's probably the strongest entry fragger due to his sheer damage output with his grenades and his ult. Being able to stack 2 grenades in one slot and put pressure with his knuckle clusters makes Fuse a perfect legend for aggressive teams. The main thing really holding him back is how much damage he often takes, similar to Mad Maggie. Every part of his kit can damage Fuse just as much as his enemies, which makes him a strong yet double-edged sword. In higher ranked lobbies and even competitive play where placement and positioning matter more, Fuse lacks a good spot in a team. However, he's not really a bad legend, just not as viable as others. The next legend we have is Wraith. She used to be one of the best skirmisher legends because her portal would be able to rotate teammates from a bad position quickly. That was until Ashe became the new meta. Ashe simply outdid everything Wraith could do and better. Even with Ashe's recent nerfs, many players still prefer Ashe's one-way instant portal and passive dash over Wraith's outdated abilities. But in some cases, Wraith's tactical to go into the void can be a game changer in a lot of scenarios, and many OGs still resort to Wraith as a sweat legend, which sometimes can placebo when playing better. Overall, Wraith is a pretty decent legend hindered by Ashe, but can still work in certain situations when needed. Our next legend is Vantage. Now she used to be a pretty weak legend until she got her buffed in Season 25. Her mobility with her bat and strong utility with her sniper ult makes her a pretty decent pick. Although great, she still gets outclassed easily by Sparrow and Valk in raw movement potential. Her sniper also requires you to carry at least 1 or 2 accelerants to be used effectively, which isn't too bad, but begins to eat up backpack space the longer the match goes on. But if you can land those shots, it's an easy 2-tap potential, basically giving you a Kraber-like weapon anytime you need it. Also, this means you really never have to carry long-range weapons or sniper rifles. You now can carry ARs, SMGs, or even shotguns. Moving on to our next legend, Gibraltar, also known as Gibby. He's actually a pretty decent support legend, definitely a lot stronger than Conduit. His ult is more viable and can probably win most 1v1 engagements due to his fortified perk and his arm shield. But with super strong buffs to Lifeline and introduction to Newcastle, Gibby just isn't the best healer anymore. Even his ult feels like a budget Bangalore ult, since Bang's ult recently got huge buffs. As the seasons go by, Gibby shifted from a great team player legend to a more 1v1 fighter. Now our next legend is Pathfinder. Pathfinder is a great movement legend, in fact, he's one of the best in pure raw movement. However, he suffers from the same issue as Watson. His skill ceiling is super high for the average player. To play him well, one often needs to spend more time on him than other legends. Additionally, Pathfinder's hitbox makes him one of the easiest targets to hit. You'll notice that you die a lot as Pathy because he literally is a walking fridge. However, his level 3 perk of a second grapple makes him a lot more viable than he once was. To really make Pathy a stronger meta legend, I feel like he would need a stronger rework such as being able to heal on ziplines, and having him being able to scan ring consoles and beacons as part of his base kit, instead of just perk upgrades. Also, quick thing, I just got my official Apex creator code and I'd love all your support. If you ever buy Apex coins, here's all you have to do. Step 1. Go to store.ea.com. Step 2. Log into your account and start your purchase. And finally, Step 3. Type my code Sonyx under apply promo code. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps me out a ton. Thank you all so much. Now we have B tier. Now these legends are more viable in the meta, they're strong and can hold their own by themselves and in a team setting. The first legend we have is Bangalore. Bangalore was recently buffed last season, followed by some minor buffs, but still kept her as a pretty well-rounded character. She's kind of a jack of all trades, able to have movement, team utility, and assault pressuring capabilities. The fact that Bangalore can still break tacticals and doors with her smoke easily makes her a strong counter to most legends in the game. Prior to her nerf, Bangalore was easily an A tier legend, but those small nerfs knocked her down to B tier. However, she's a pretty solid legend in the game still. Our next legend is Caustic, one of the best controller legends by far. He has both the defensive and offensive parts of his kit, flexible for both pubs and rank. His gas still ticks very strong, and most players won't survive it if they stay in it. He is hindered by his mobility and size, and he's harder to keep up with aggressive playstyles this season. But the fact that he's the only legend who can unlock all 4 perks easily lands him a solid spot in B tier. Rampart is the only controller legend this season that is stronger than Caustic. Now we're moving on to Mad Maggie. He's a very solid assault legend, definitely a lot stronger than Fuse as an entry fragger. Fuse lacks speed, while Mad Maggie has speed and power. Now recent buffs to her drill and wrecking ball lets her shut down a lot of defensive legends and can easily take down the newly buffed Rampart. What holds her back is 2 things. 1, self-damage. Now Maggie's either damaging herself through a tactical or ult, or both, and number 2, the ult has an 80% chance to hit you. It's not a verified statistic, but if you play Mad Maggie enough, try and throw the ball without hitting yourself. It's almost impossible. This can lose you a lot of fights. The next on our list is Loba. Now she's a much stronger healer than she was before. The fact that you can collect players' banners with her ult, and now she has 2 bracelet charges, makes her one of, if not, the best movement healer legend. Her black market is also very strong, now allowing for 3 items instead of 2 with her perk upgrades. but her kit is more so geared to looting rather than direct health support like Newcastle and Lifeline, which is why she lands at B tier. Other than that, she's a pretty solid legend with a flexible kit, allowing you to play well as a solo and in a team. Now we have Ballistic, one of the best 1v1 legends that exist. If you're hit by his attack and his ult is active, you're probably going to lose that fight. Ballistic's ult is also very powerful, being able to turn anything in your sling to gold right away. This means putting weapons that benefit from hop-ups such as the Devotion or Havoc can almost always guarantee you winning that fight. Also, his sling allows for more flexibility with range, meaning you can have 3 weapons like Vantage, 1 long range, 1 mid range, and 1 close range. However, I feel like what's holding him back from being at a higher tier is simply his level 3 perks. In short, they either let the attack last longer in the world or silence the enemy. As an assault legend, these feel a little weak, and Ballistic could benefit from perk tree rework. Lastly, we have Mirage. Mirage is an interesting one. He's strong, but he's not. He's easy to play, but he's hard to master. He's one of those legends that's sort of a meme legend, but you can do some funny plays to bamboozle enemies that actually end up getting some cool kills. But in a more competitive setting, Mirage ends up falling short because he just lacks a pure team-wide utility as other defensive legends. Being invisible is a pretty nice ability, but it requires Mirage or other teammates to either be down or damaged. All in all, Mirage's kit is very powerful, but it still requires finesse to work well in both solo and team plays. Now we have A tier legends. These are very good legends. They're usually the top pick in a lot of metas, and most comps include at least one of these. Our first legend is Alter. Now Alter got a heavy nerf last season with only allowing her 1 Void Nexus and only allowing down teammates to be recalled manually by a non-down teammate. And this was for good reason. Alter was just way too strong and easily dominated the entire meta in rank, allowing for multi-fight resets in a blink of an eye. However, even with these nerfs, she's still very strong. Her tactical alone allows you to move around like no skirmisher can, and 1 portal is more than enough to pull off decent resets when needed. Not to mention her passive ability, being able to have an unlimited mini Lopa market anytime you need ammo, heals, or attachments from Deathbox is completely broken. Alter is very solid, definitely still a high tier A legend. Next up we have Ashe. Ashe suffered from the same thing as Alter, topped the meta, then suffered numerous nerfs that brought her down. You can really feel the difference with her passive dash now. Sparrow's double jump completely trumps it because it's that much stronger and the cooldown is way faster. However, despite these nerfs, her ult is still one of the best rotations in the entire game. That one-way instant portal allows for emergency escapes or aggressive pushes that not even the newly buffed Valkyrie can match in raw speed. Ashe is easily still towards the upper part of the meta, but it's definitely not the #1 legend anymore. Our next legend is Newcastle. Now Newcastle is just literally an upgraded Gibby. Everything in Newcastle's kit is a solid 10 out of 10, and he's probably the go-to defense legend in higher ranked lobbies. The buffs to his ult also gives him a free Watson ult, eating any nades or abilities from hitting you. Plus, being a portable revive legend is one of the best types of healers in a game where mobility is so crucial. Compare this to Conduit or Loba, where you might go down mid-fight if you pop a res. Newcastle barely has to risk his life because he has a revive shield and even brings his down teammates into cover. The only thing holding him back is his hitbox and mobility. He's a bit tanky, which totally balances out how strong he really is. Guys, real quick, pause the video and click here for the best gear to level up your gameplay. From controllers to headsets to even full console and PC setups, everything in this list will help you level up quickly. Okay, let's get back into it. Now we have Lifeline. Newcastle basically was given the A tier when he was released. Lifeline, on the other hand, had to go through a lot of work to get where she is today. Now, her ult is basically the strongest protection in the entire game because it's completely impenetrable and gives lightning fast heals. And the fact that she can revive completely hands-free to keep fighting makes her not only defensive, but aggressive as well. Her kit can be used for pushes, yet perfectly balanced for support when needed. Lifeline is quite literally a definition of a perfect healer, and no one except Newcastle can claim that title. Now we have Sparrow. He still easily has one of the most fluid movement in the entire game. Double jumping every few seconds can absolutely win you more fights than you should. Apart from Valk, Sparrow is probably the next best movement recon legend, simply because his movement abilities aren't a one-time use like Vantage's tactical or Seer's ult. His ult is also very deadly because draining enemies' health while healing your own feels completely unfair if you use it right. Sparrow was easily S tier before, but since his ult got nerfed last season, he claimed the new spot in A tier. Now we have Seer. Prior to last season's buffs, Seer was completely useless. However, once those buffs hit, Seer has so much more utility that it's honestly hard to keep track of how many things his kit has to offer. Also, the fact that he has the same Sparrow double jump in his ult makes him more fluid than ever in fights. His perk also allows him lightning fast tack charges that can even heal his own shields, basically giving him Sparrow's abilities with free wall hacks. Shortly after though, Seer did get a few nerfs after the big buff, which knocked him down to A tier. Lastly, we have Revenant. Now this season, Revenant was one of the only legends to get a nerf. His tactical Shadow Pounce was nerfed so he's no longer able to travel as far. However, testing him out in Season 27, it's still a very solid mobility tool, basically an Octane jump pad every 20 seconds. Not to mention his ult, Forged Shadows, which grants you an instant 75 extra shield on top of everything you already have. This single-handedly gives you more HP than anyone else in the game, especially if you have blue or purple armor already. You'll be able to pretty much win all your 1v1s and find yourself 1v3ing with ease. The only thing holding him back from S tier is that his ult doesn't recharge per knock as it did before. This made him basically unstoppable when Revenant was in his prime. Now we have S tier. These are not only the best legends of their respective classes, but the best legends in the entire game. Their kit is built to win you fights, games, and every lobby you enter. The first legend we have is Valkyrie. Season 27 gave Valk so many powerful buffs this season. Before, she felt like a budget Ashe and so many other legends slowly made her less viable. Now she's an absolute monster. She has faster VTOL jets and her fuel tank recharges much faster. She has missiles that don't do damage to her anymore and can be shot indoors for ultra aggressive plays. She has an upgraded skyward dive that beats any evac tower and can even shoot missiles for amazing pushes. Valk this season completely dominates the meta because she's the strongest recon legend. She has the strongest team-wide rotation tool like a skirmisher support legend and is quite literally an assault legend with these new buffs. Valk is S tier, period. Now if this video has been helping you out, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next video. Now we have Horizon. She got the same treatment as Valk, but since Horizon was already a pretty decent spot prior to the buffs, the changes made her even more viable now. Her Black Hole ultimate is way stronger, meaning it can tank more nades and damage. Her new perk abilities give her a ton more flexibility with movement, which easily translate to better fighting and survivability. Horizon was a strong legend, but Season 27 easily made her feel broken in a good kind of way. Our last S tier legend is Rampart. Now Caustic dominated the controller meta last season, this time it's Rampart. The newly buffed Rampart adds so much to her kit, from amp shields that include a roof, so you can build stronger defenses, to wall charges that grant you speed boosting abilities, infinite ammunition, and faster reloads. Rampart is quite literally the most defensive, yet aggressive hybrid legend this season and can counter almost any legend that comes her way. She will most likely be used heavily in higher elo lobbies where placement, buildings, and rotations are the backbone of ranked and comp. That'll do it for ranking all the legends for Season 27, but don't stop now. Click here for more Season 27 guides for Apex Legends to help you win more, from settings to weapon tier list, but if there's anything else you want to see, comment it down below. Have a great day.